Can you believe it, bro? We have been through everything together. School fights, late night hangouts, even that time we failed math together, remember? Yeah, man, you're my ride or die. Nothing could ever come between us. Or so they thought. What happens when love sneaks into the picture? When one girl turns best friends into enemies? When jealousy and obsession take over? Why her, Adeh? You knew how I felt about her. Shola, it's not about you or me. Amina made her choice. Ilaro was a town where the mornings smelled of roasted plantains, and the evenings were filled with the laughter of children playing soccer on dusty streets. There lived two inseparable boys, Adeh and Shola. From the moment they could walk, their friendship had been as natural as the sunrise over the hills that cradled their small city. Adeh was the quieter of the two, a dreamer with a heart as big as the baobab tree in the middle of their neighborhood. He loved books and often carried tattered novels under his arm, reading by the flickering glow of kerosene lamps when the city's electricity failed. Shola, on the other hand, was bold, loud, and full of life. His smile could light up even the gloomiest days, and he had a knack for charming everyone, except perhaps the stern-faced teachers at school. The boys were perfectly balanced. Shola brought laughter into Adeh's reserved world, while Adeh's steady wisdom kept Shola grounded. At Ilaro High School, their bond was legendary. Whenever you see Adeh sitting under the mango tree with his books, Shola is never far away, kicking a ball or cracking jokes that leave even the teachers struggling to hide their smiles. Adeh, Shola would shout, his voice echoing across the courtyard. Why are you always reading? Do you want to marry your books? Adeh would look up, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Shola, if I don't read, who will save you from failing math? Students would laugh, and even Shola couldn't help but grin. One day, Adeh, I'll prove I'm more than just a footballer. Watch and see. Their lives were simple but filled with dreams. While Shola dreamed of playing professional football, Adeh wanted to be a writer. Despite their differences, they shared one goal, to attend university together. Their hard work paid off. When the admission letters arrived, both boys were thrilled to learn they had been accepted into the prestigious University of Ibadan. Mama, can you believe it? Shola shouted as he danced around the tiny living room of his family's home. Adeh and I are going to university. His mother, a petite woman with tired eyes but a proud smile, clapped her hands in joy. You boys have done well. Make us proud. Adeh's family was equally overjoyed, though his father's quiet nod of approval meant more to him than any celebration. As they packed their belongings and prepared for their journey to Ibadan, the boys made a promise under the full moon's light. Adeh, Shola said, his voice serious for once, no matter what happens, we stick together, right? Adeh nodded, placing a hand on Shola's shoulder. Always. University life was a whirlwind of new experiences. The campus was vast, the lecture halls intimidating, and the city itself a maze of opportunities and distractions. Adeh, as expected, buried himself in his studies, while Shola quickly became a campus celebrity with his football skills and infectious personality. Then she appeared. Her name was Amina. She was a strikingly beautiful girl with a sharp wit and a laugh that could melt even the hardest hearts. She was in their class, a biology major with ambitions as vast as the ocean. From the moment they met her, both boys were smitten. But Adeh caught her attention. Adeh, Amina said one day after class, I heard you're a writer. Can I read one of your stories? Adeh blushed, fumbling with his notebook. Sure, but they're not that good. She smiled, her eyes twinkling. Let me be the judge of that. As weeks turned into months, Amina and Adeh grew closer. Their love for books and long conversations under the stars drew them together. Shola noticed the change immediately. He watched as Amina's laughter, once freely shared with both of them, now seemed reserved for Adeh. The easy camaraderie they once shared felt strained, and Shola's smiles no longer reached his eyes. One evening, as they returned to their dorms, Shola finally voiced his frustration. Adeh, Why didn't you tell me you liked her? He demanded, his voice laced with anger. Adeh stopped in his tracks, his brow furrowing. What are you talking about, Shola? I didn't plan this. It just happened. It just happened? Shola scoffed. You knew I liked her too. Adeh sighed, running a hand through his hair. Shola, this isn't about us. Amina made her choice. Shola said nothing, but the silence between them was deafening. As the months passed, Shola's resentment festered. He avoided Adeh and Amina, throwing himself into football and making new friends. But deep down, his bitterness consumed him. One night, as he sat alone in his room, Shola muttered to himself, his voice filled with anger. Why him? What does Adeh have that I don't? I was always the one people noticed, the one who made her laugh first. It's not fair. His obsession with Amina grew, and his hatred for Adeh grew. One fateful evening, Shola made a decision that would change their lives forever. He approached Amina, his voice low and filled with desperation. Amina, I need to talk to you, he said. She looked at him warily. What is it, Shola? I can't stand this anymore, he confessed. I love you, Amina. I've loved you since the day we met. Why can't you see that? Amina's eyes softened, but her voice was firm. Shola, you're a great guy, but my heart belongs to Adeh. You need to let this go. Her rejection was a dagger to his heart. As she walked away, Shola clenched his fists, his mind racing with thoughts he couldn't control. Shola began to spiral. His once bright personality darkened, and even his football teammates noticed the change. He withdrew from everyone, spending his nights plotting ways to hurt the two people he felt had betrayed him. One night, as he paced his room, his thoughts turned sinister. If I can't have her, he muttered, his eyes glinting with malice, then neither will Adeh. The night was eerily quiet, the kind of silence that hinted at something brewing beneath the surface. Shola had been planning this moment for weeks, the betrayal he felt festering in his heart like an untreated wound. Adeh and Amina had no idea what was coming. It was a Friday evening, and the campus was alive with activity. Students milled about, laughing and chatting as they prepared for the weekend. Adeh and Amina had just finished a late night study session at the library. They returned to their dorms, their laughter blending harmoniously with the cool night air. Shola watched them from the shadows. His once warm eyes were now cold, and his heart pounded as he clutched the knife hidden in his pocket. Adeh, he called out, stepping into the dim light of a street lamp. Adeh turned surprised. Shola, what are you doing here? I need to talk to you. Alone, Shola said, his voice calm but laced with an undertone that sent a shiver down Amina's spine. Amina hesitated. Is everything okay? She asked, glancing between the two boys. It's fine, Adeh assured her, though he felt uneasy. Go on ahead, I'll catch up. Amina nodded reluctantly, walking away but casting a worried glance over her shoulder. Once Amina was out of sight, Shola's facade cracked. You took everything from me, he hissed, approaching Adeh. What are you talking about? Adeh asked, confusion etched across his face. Amina, Shola shouted, his voice echoing in the quiet street. She was supposed to be mine, Adeh. You knew how I felt about her, and you still took her. Shola, this isn't about me or you, Adeh said, his voice steady. Amina made her choice. You need to let this go. Let it go? Shola repeated, his laughter hollow. You don't get it, do you? You've always had everything, your books, your perfect grades, your calmness. And now, the one thing I wanted, you've taken that too. Before Adeh could respond, Shola lunged at him, the knife gleaming under the faint light. Adeh fought back, his voice echoing in the night as he called for help. But Shola, fueled by years of pent-up resentment, was almost otherworldly in strength. When Amina heard the commotion and ran back, it was too late. Adeh lay crumpled on the ground, blood pooling around him. Shola stood over him, the knife trembling as he stared at what he'd done. Adeh, Amina screamed, rushing to his side. What did you do, Shola? What did you do? Shola dropped the knife, his face pale. I didn't mean to, he stammered, stepping back. He provoked me. Amina cradled Adeh's lifeless body, tears streaming down her face. You've destroyed everything, she whispered, her voice breaking. Shola turned and fled, disappearing into the darkness. The news of Adeh's death shook the university to its core. Students gathered in somber groups, whispering about the tragedy that had unfolded. Amina was inconsolable, her once bright eyes now dull and lifeless. She blamed herself for not seeing the warning signs, for not doing more to mend the rift between the two boys. Shola, meanwhile, was nowhere to be found. He had gone into hiding, his guilt and fear consuming him. Days turned into weeks, and the search for Shola continued. The police questioned students, scoured the campus, and even visited his family, but he seemed to have vanished.